Vietnam vets and doctors are turning up dead. Their bodies show no external signs of trauma, but their insides tell quite a different story.
How can someone burn on the inside and not on the out? The answers take Mulder and his new partner on a wild chase through one of the war's darkest secrets.
This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
Better to do with my time than just sit around and wait for someone like you.
Agent Mulder.
Now, come on.
Yeah.
It's your 302. Assistant Director Skinner just approved it.
There's a mistake here. There's been another agent assigned to the case.
That would be me. Krychek. Alex Krychek.
Skinner didn't say anything about taking on a partner.
It wasn't Skinner. Actually, I opened the file 2 hours before your request, so technically it's my case.
And you already talked to the police?
Yep. Just hung up on the officer in charge a few minutes ago. Detective named Horton. Turns out Grissom called 911 to report a fire.
I heard the tape.
Did you hear that forensics found a spent fire extinguisher on the floor? Grissom's prints were all over it. The walls and floor in his living room were covered with ammonium phosphate.
But no trace of fire.
Not even a burnt match.
Is that all you know?
Yeah, so far. What do you think it means?
Listen, I appreciate the show and tell, and I don't want you to take this personally, but I work alone. I'll straighten things out with Skinner.
It's my case, Agent Mulder. Look, I may be green, but I had the case first, so I'm not going to give it away so quickly.
All right, I'll tell you what, I got some work to finish up around here. Why don't you go down to the motor pool and requisition us a car, and I'll meet you down there.
That's all? I mean, you don't have a problem with us working together?
Hey, it's your party.
Hello and welcome to the show today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, as always, is Andrew. How are you doing?
Well, I'm sorry. I was up for 4 days
on.
researching this episode. I was a little sleepless. Yeah. See?
That's on brand.
Isn't that great?
Good stuff.
Took me 4 days to come
Good
up with that bit.
Well, we are talking, of course, about Sleepless,
Mm-hmm.
written by Howard Gordon and directed by Rob Bowman. Yeah, I believe this is his first solo.
It is. And I thought this was really interesting. The genesis for the story behind Sleepless has everything to do with Howard Gordon's crisis over being unable to write this thing.
This is a 24-hour script, isn't it?
No, 2 weeks it took him to sort of get it together. But he was unhappy with his first episode. And he's 2 weeks out from his deadline. He's racked with anxiety and panic, and he stays awake for 2 nights. And ultimately, that's what allows him to come up with a storyline about a character who hasn't slept for 25 years.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, Chris Carter has the idea of what might make a perfect soldier, and then the two concepts are joined to make the final idea for the script.
Man, Chris Carter and that perfect soldier. Something the X-Files will explore a lot.
Yeah, he's got a couple of varied interests that some wells that he'll return to.
Aliens, bad government, and super soldiers.
Super soldiers.
Well, do you want to dive into this episode, Andrew?
I sure do. Did we say that it was directed by Rob
Bowman? Yep, I said that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I was too busy thinking about what I was going to say.
You were too busy with the yuckity yucks, with your little sleep joke.
Well, I've got a better joke for you if you want.
Oh, sure. Lay it on.
What do you call a really sleepy egg?
What?
It's exhausted. Yeah.
Oh, that's highbrow.
Isn't it good?
You know, you should really go to the Laugh Factory with that one.
I should go pro with these, huh?
Mm-hmm. See how few seconds you last.
I guarantee you, friends, I will not be doing that. We will just stick it out in the podcast where we are comfortable. So, Mike, please start us off.
All right, we open. It is New York City. There's a man in his apartment resting on the couch. He's fallen asleep watching television. Suddenly, he stirs awake to the smell of smoke. He looks, and it's billowing from under his apartment door. He opens the door to see an inferno. He shuts it fast and dials 911. Dr. Saul Grissom, apartment 606, for God's sake, hurry. He rushes to the closet to get his fire extinguisher, which is a really convenient place for it, top shelf behind everything.
At least he's got one, Mike. I can totally see.
You see tennis rackets, tennis balls falling. It's a little ridiculous.
Where did I put that fire extinguisher?
Oh, dang it. An explosion comes from the door. More flames. The fire alarm goes off. We cut to the fire crew arriving on the scene. There's a stairwell. We see them all hustling in while civilians escape downward. We see a man squeeze by them, and he listens to their orders as he descends the staircase. He looks up ominously. The camera closes in on his neck, and for a moment we see a long horizontal scar on the back of his neck. We cut back to apartment 606 as the fire crew gets ready to breach. Odd thing is, the hall isn't burning as it was, and everything seems normal. The firefighter tests the doorknob. It's cold. They breach. They enter the apartment. Everything's clean. Everything's fine. There's a spent fire extinguisher on the floor, and Dr. Grissom is dead. Credits.
Yeah.
How did this intro grab you?
All right. I really liked it when I saw it. On reflection. Okay. The first thought I had was like, what the hell is this building? Where's the fire alarm? With this kind of blazing inferno that's stepped up. I mean, eventually we do hear a fire alarm. Mm-hmm. So my first question is, what triggered the fire alarm?
I know what you're thinking. I'm with you there. My brain that is always in defense of the show says what I pieced that together as the call came from the apartment, fire department picked it up. I'm guessing they called the front desk. That's my guess. It said, you've got a fire on the 6th floor, sound the alarm so everyone gets out of the building. That's my guess.
I like it.
I would imagine there's got to be some sort of protocol, right? Because if I lived in an apartment building on the 8th floor, there's no guarantee that I've called the front desk, So maybe that they have like a duty to do that. I don't know the protocol, but that's how I rationalize.
I accept your tenuous explanation. I wish I had seen him pull an alarm of some kind, because that would be fine. But in this case, like it ties together the idea that there's a fire with what would happen to a fire. I was thinking this should have happened way earlier if there was a fire actually happening. But it was at that point I remembered, wait a second, this isn't an actual fire. This is an in his head fire. But
that's true.
So yeah, the other thing that occurred to me was we're taking our time to introduce our villain, so I'm okay with it in a way, but the conceit that will happen eventually with Preacher is that he is there conducting his whammy on his victim. But in this bit, we don't see him do this to Grissom. It just, like, Grissom awakes from his sleep to okay, go for it. I can see you wanting to jump in.
Tony Todd is in the vicinity.
We don't know the stairwell, but
we don't know how to.
He's never connected to the apartment. He's not in there talking to Grissom. He's not in the window watching what's happening. We just see him. And so what that's suggesting to me is that, and I think in terms of like, okay, if you've got a villain and he's got a superpower, then what are the limits of that power?
I'm with you.
And one of X-Files' flaws is that they sometimes give. They give their supervillains this power, and then they stack on these other things that it can suddenly do, and that is terrible writing, right? Because it's like, oh well, you're just going to write in a new power to explain why they got away with that. But what they're suggesting is he can do this and not be there, so that's okay. I just wish we had a little bit more causality other than him just being there. I suppose they're trying to set up a little mystery, and they don't want to show everything all at once. I guess I'm okay with that, but it felt like this was an interesting little pre-story that they wanted to throw in there, and it made sense in this episode. And then everything else that follows afterwards is going to be different.
I gotcha.
I don't know.
That makes sense. I don't think they established the limits of his power. If they do that in like a future scene, then we'd have a real problem here, I think.
Yeah,
but
true.
I don't think they ever go into it enough. My guess is he can just kind of throw his image at his victim and let them experience it in a certain way.
Yeah, what I got was he can accentuate what somebody's already feeling. Like he can give a voice to their own paranoias or dreams, or he can accentuate it, because that was lightly touched upon in a future scene where Mulder's talking to his doctor in the institution that he's theoretically installed at. Yeah. And that he is able to affect the other patient's dreams. And Mulder has this moment of like, what did you just say? And then it's interrupted by Cole not being there. But before we go on, I just want to say an interesting fact about why a fire department is usually called out with a paramedic when they're responding to a situation. I mean, clearly this is a fire, so yes, they send the fire department. But, sometimes you see fire department at an auto accident, or they'll be called into a house as well if the paramedics have to respond to somebody's home. And I never really figured out why the fire department goes there, right? And I always thought it was just an efficiency. You don't know what the emergency is, you maybe call the fire department. But it turns out one of the major reasons is that paramedics are not equipped to break into people's homes.
That makes sense.
Whereas the fire department's got a big piece of steel that'll take out a door right easy.
As we just saw.
It worked pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is my little aside. Please, pray continue.
Okay. We cut back from credits. We are at Mulder's apartment door. He picks up a paper, and inside it, he finds a cassette tape. There's an article pinpointing that this Dr. Grissom we just saw is in fact dead. He pops the tape into his answering machine. It begins playing, and we get one of those slick cuts to the tape still playing, and we are now in Skinner's office. He's playing it for his superior.
Yeah, I love it.
He's briefing Skinner on the case. There was no mention of the fire in the report. Grissom has a company with government contracts, which gives Mulder jurisdiction. Skinner sounds unimpressed and calls Mulder out, saying, "But that's not why you want the case." The mysterious circumstances require a closer look, and NYPD won't even talk to Mulder unless Skinner gets the AG to sign off. Skinner asks about the tape and where he got it. Someone obviously has led Mulder to believe there's more to this. And Mulder says he evades the question a little bit. He says the only source he's ever trusted is dead. You have other work to do in the meantime. Skinner will look into this and get back to him.
I like this scene because Mulder's still in the penalty box. Mm-hmm. And, there's a little glimmer that maybe Skinner will make this happen. But
I like it because it keeps Skinner in the role of, I'm still your superior. You've still pissed me off in the past, the recent past. And I'm not just going to bend to your will, whether or not I'm okay with you doing this. I want to think about it. I want to make sure you deserve what you're about to be handed. You got to be a good boy, Mulder.
If this happens, it's going to be because I say it's going to happen, not because you just came up with this wackadoodle theory.
Yeah. So we cut down to Mulder doing his transcribing. And here we meet a new agent.
Is it a new agent?
It is a new agent.
I think it's Michael, who's been given a new job.
Yeah, he's a kind 3 when you look at him.
So for anybody who hasn't been paying attention, Nicholas Lee, we were first introduced to as an extra, basically, a sort of side character in Genderbender, where he played a character named Michael. We joked a lot in that episode that he was going to come back to the FBI in the future as Agent Krychek. Mm-hmm. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, who's going to be a foil for seasons to come.
Yeah. So this is a great scene because for me, it's Mulder just... One, he wants the case, and Krychek shows up and hands him the 302. Skinner's approved it, and it catches Mulder off guard that there's another agent tied to this case. And Krychek introduces himself, and Mulder, wow, he just ignores that handshake. And you see Krychek just kind of take it back after the conversation progresses, and Mulder's like, "Look, I appreciate what you're doing here, but I work alone, so I'll talk to Skinner and I'll get this sorted out." And Krychek pushes back. He said, "No, I may be a little green, but It was my case first. I opened it 2 hours before you did. So, yeah.
I mean, you could unpack this pretty hard because obviously he didn't just accidentally open this case. This has been set up so that Krycek is going to get inserted. I think that there are some interesting lines to connect here. Skinner obviously looked into it, and it got somebody's attention so much so that they're like, all right, Mulder, we can make it work that Mulder is put into this case, but he's going to be put into it with our man Krycek. Mm-hmm. So the question would be why? Why would they? Oh, I think I know the answer even why they would do this, because Skinner knows that Mulder's been given this information. So he may say, listen, somebody fed this case to Mulder. I don't know who it was, and then maybe he's talking the cigarette smoking man or what, but this was not accidental. You may have a situation in your house. And so CSM would say, all right, let him follow it up. Maybe the person that sent him these details will reveal themselves and we can find out who it is.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where it seems a little convoluted until you think about it, because by the end of the episode, we do very much get the sense and blatant pointing out
the scene where he's a bad guy.
That he was placed in this position. So yeah, I like it. And where those questions would normally cause issue, I think it helps this episode. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. And I like that they don't tip their hand until the very end. Like I could have even lived without that coda. I know we're jumping way but
let's get to it. I have my own thoughts on that.
Okay, well,
so once Krycek pushes back on Mulder relents. He says, okay, listen, why don't you go requisition us a car and I'll finish some work here. I'll meet you down in the garage. It's your party. At the FBI Academy, Scully is teaching a group of students over a cadaver. She's interrupted by a phone call from George Hale. It's Mulder's code name on the phone in case you weren't paying attention to earlier episodes. He's asking her to New York for an autopsy. She can't today, but don't worry, Mulder can get her the body by 5, completely disregarding any life that she might have outside of work.
She knows she doesn't have a life. Come on.
I know. We go to the Grissom Sleep Disorders Center. Mulder arrives to inquire some. He's talking to a female doctor, and she's telling him about unprecedented success. His death is a loss to the community, and excellence demands sacrifices. Mulder asks about the mental state and whether or not he was delusional. Not at all. They approach the room of a man with his sleep being monitored. He has night terrors, and they prevent him from sinking into REM sleep. And currently, the doctors are stimulating his brain in order to help make the jump into a more restful sleep. They use electrical impulses to modify audio and visual hallucinations. And in theory, this means they can control someone's dreams.
So obviously setting it up a little bit for us to have something to work with when we talk about what Preacher can do.
Yes. This is pushing us in the direction that it has something to do with hallucinations or something to do with dreams. And it may be a little bit of off subject, just a little bit, but it does come up. But setting us up.
It's some nice context. And I think it draws from the headlines because I imagine around this time, the idea of a sleep clinic was probably pretty unheard of. If your husband was snoring, maybe you'd send him to a sleep clinic, so maybe you could stop that. But night terrors and things like that, I can't imagine in the 90s that was topical.
Probably not very much. As Mulder leaves, and mind you, he has been alone, in case anyone missed it. He walks out of the building. His cab's no longer there. Krycek gets out of a nearby car and says he paid off Mulder's cab, and he is not happy that Mulder ditched him.
Ooh, bad Mulder.
Krycek, he lays it out. You don't know the first thing about me. I heard stories about you at the academy. He appeals to Mulder saying, you know what? There were some of us that actually believed in your work and believed there was more to what everyone was telling us, despite what people said about you. So he plays that.
Even say, when Alex says, you don't know the first thing about me, doesn't Mulder even say at that point that's kind of the problem or something to that effect? Like, you don't know me. It's like, you're right. I don't know you.
He says exactly. Yeah, you are right. You are correct.
Yeah. Which I think is telling right there in and of itself. It's like, you don't know me and I don't know you, and you shouldn't trust me and I shouldn't trust you in this path that we're looking to follow. But it is the beginning of an unlikely partnership.
Yeah. Mulder gets a call from Scully. This man, Grissom, did not die of cardiac arrest. She hasn't even dipped her toes into the autopsy yet, and she will have a lot more to tell him when he arrives. Krychek assumes he's going with, and he gives him the keys. So they arrive at the autopsy, and Mulder and Scully catch up briefly. He introduces Krychek to her. She kind of brushes past it. No real acknowledgement.
I love how he's the third wheel. It's so awkward.
Yeah.
And he's like, even the camera has put him in the background. He like pokes his head in and says, does that mean he didn't die that way? Those little comments are so good.
Yeah, she ignores his handshake as well and moves on to show them the body.
Listen, Deep Throat said, trust no one, and she is going to follow that advice.
Yeah. As soon as she begins showing them the body, Krychek gets a little queasy. The body's condition is usually occurs several hours after being exposed to extreme heat.
Yeah, and she's talking about the positioning of the hands. This weird. Yeah,
they're kind of upright, which is strange.
Akimbo. This
degree of limb flexion is found in burn victims, but there's no evidence of fire, Krychek states. There are no epidermal burns either. When she opens the skull, the brain was scorched like it was burned. This man suffered all the secondary, yet none of the primary conditions of being burned alive. And she catches herself here. She begins positing this theory, and she has to kind of compose herself. She says, it's almost as if this man's body believed it was burning.
I literally went, oh man. She said that. It was a nice little touch.
It's crazy because they all exchange a kind of shocked look, and that coming from Scully is pretty big, you know? So from here, we go to Brooklyn. A man sits in his dingy apartment, sucking on swill. He looks extremely tired, bags under his eyes.
Can you authoritatively say that is swill that he is sucking on? You would assume based
it can't be that well based on the conditions of him and his apartment. Listen,
he may choose to spend his discretionary income on high quality beer. You don't know. You don't judge Willie.
So what beer would this be then?
I think it is nice European beer, a lager, maybe German, Pilsner perhaps.
Okay.
Could be Czech.
You're right. I should not have jumped to conclusions.
Yes, but I appreciate that the circumstances would stereotypically lead you to believe that this is swill.
The man is character actor Don Thompson, who we saw in Conduit and we will see again in The Walk in season 3.
Wait, who did he play in Conduit?
He plays one of the agents that trashes the apartment or the home of what's her face.
Gotcha.
You left the door open, Willie.
Preacher?
Not a good idea leaving your door open in this neighborhood. You never know who's gonna drop by.
Dad, what are you doing here? How long you been in town?
Not long.
Want a beer?
How you doing, Henry?
Huh?
How you been?
Am I doing? I'm trying to forget. You know, I'm trying to get it out of my head.
No luck.
No. I'm still fighting it, you know? Keep seeing the faces. Every day. I see. What's the difference? We're all going to hell, right?
Where you think we've been the last 24 years? After this, wherever your senses is gonna seem like a Hawaiian vacation.
What do you want here, preacher? You killed him, didn't you? You killed Grissom. I saw it on TV.
You had to pay, Henry. All of us have to answer for what we did over there.
With a quick cut to a group of Vietnamese people who look broken and bloody, Mark Snow's music takes off into a pan flute. Preacher begins reciting a passage from the Bible. Henry's scared when suddenly they point assault rifles at him and begin firing. The walls are peppered with bullets. Henry falls.
So, I gotta say, the pan flutes are going to be Preacher's little signature music note. And at least it's not jungle music, conga drums.
Yeah.
And I guess Mark Snow can't do that because we're in the city. If we were in the woods, he would definitely go into bongos. But I feel like the pan flutes are, I mean, obviously he's trying to give us a note that when they come up, we associate that with Preacher. But I felt like that was a bit, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It didn't feel.
Well, it is. If there's one thing that Mark Snow is, he gets very blatantly non-Caucasian with his music when there's a hint of something. I just think that it's on the nose is what I'll say.
It is very much. To be fair, well, maybe not fair, but to I guess defend it a little bit, it's a creature of the moment. Like in 1994, there was not a ton of nuance.
Right.
Certainly attentiveness to, I don't know, political correctness, I suppose. But
I mean, for a show like this, they were trying to be politically correct.
They were definitely trying. But this is a case where it fails a little bit.
It fails on some aspects for sure.
Yeah.
We come back from commercial on photos of Henry. Krychek is updating Mulder. There are no aberrations, contusions, or anything. Cause of death is listed as a burst aneurysm. The medical examiner called his friend, stating that internal signs had 42 hemorrhages and skeletal fragments. Again, no external signs. The ME says if he didn't know otherwise, he'd swear they were gunshot wounds. Willick had an appendectomy in his file, but Mulder notes the scar on his neck. Krychek says maybe it happened in Vietnam when he toured in 1970. He was, in fact, a Marine. This piques Mulder's interest, and he grabs a file. They put together that Willig was at Paris Island at the same time because Grissom was stationed there from 1968 to 1971. Mulder cracks a smirk. Things are coming together, and maybe this guy ain't so bad. They check some computer records. They find Willig's name. He was assigned to Special Force Recon Squad J7. He's one of 2 surviving members out of 13. Krychek quips until yesterday, so now they're down to 1 member who can help us, Augustus Cole. I like that name.
It's a cool name. I got a couple of things I want to dwell on before we go on to the next cool scene. I really like this bit of business here because it evokes the idea that this is quote unquote real police work. It's not running down sidewalks, chasing bad guys, shooting guns. It's investigation, and it's nice to occasionally show that, right?
I love it when they show that with Mulder and Scully, because I would say more so with Mulder, because he's so out there and he's got his insane ability of predicting the plot of the show. So it's very fun to watch him do these things that are kind of routine. Yeah. This isn't Law and Order, but I'm still excited to see it for some reason.
Well, for me, it's because it makes sense. It's what they would do, and it's convincingly portrayed. It's not too hard to follow, and we're with them when it happens, when they're drawing these lines. So it makes you feel, you're watching it over their shoulder, and you feel kind of as smart as they are as they're, connecting these puzzle pieces.
You feel that twinge of excitement as they're piecing things together. And the fact that Krychek is a new person, not just to Mulder, but to us, it's like, okay, as much as we don't like that it's not Scully.
Yeah.
This is, we can see the bond forming a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great moment, and we enjoy that they're achieving these positive results together. It's the beginning of this, what looks to be a new alliance, a new unlikely friendship.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I don't like so much about this death, and consequently the autopsy from the first death, is the physical manifestation of these hallucinations. The fact that his brain had burned and that there are 43, if I didn't know any better, I'd say there were gunshot wounds. I get that there's an aneurysm. I get that, maybe this other guy had a heart attack and, died because he thought he was having these grievous injuries. But the idea that your body can spontaneously
Just
create these seemingly bullet wounds, I don't follow that.
It is a little too much.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. And I've heard other people say it. It's very strange because kind of like you said, you can wrap your head around your body reacting to what you're hallucinating or what you're feeling. And that will raise or lower your adrenaline and things like that. But when your body's reacting in ways that are ripping itself apart because you're thinking something,
yeah,
it's a little rough. I mean,
well, the 43 bullet wounds is really egregious. It's like,
yes.
So your body thinks it's being shot, so you move your bones apart and
my bones just shatter.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about it right now is dangerous.
I don't know how your body would do that other than there is a, more than just psychic, more than just you think it, but the preacher is actually able to make it happen. And they don't give us enough to make that connection.
Yeah.
So
I think Howard Gordon got a little too spooky with this one. I do think there's an element, like we've talked about at least once before, of just trying to outdo each other.
Well, and I don't. 11 is what it is, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's not just he thought himself to death. You've got physical evidence that he thought himself to death, and I'm like, you could have done exactly the same episode. It would have been just as cool. You cut that little bit out, and it's fine. But to have it there just makes me go, wait a minute.
It's a little
bullshit.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much. So we go to the VA Medical Center. The camera fades into a semi-horror pullback down from long concrete hallway with pipes. It doesn't look friendly.
I love this shot.
It's nice.
I would like to dwell on it for a minute to say that it starts with this twisting motion. It starts on its side and it twists to be, the regular orientation, and it's moving backwards, and it passes our characters as they walk down the hallway. It's this long tracking shot that would have taken them a lot of organization to pull off. So it's really cool. And I looked at it like 3 times going, geez, that's not easy. Good job. People.
Not easy, but he knows what he's doing.
Rob Bowman.
Good stuff.
That's good vision there.
The agents are following a doctor as he takes them to Cole's cell. Now, I'm going to be very honest. This is a terrible environment. I don't know where the fuck they are, but they look like they're in the basement. And the only explanation is that Cole had been interfering with other people's sleep. So, Mulder pushes him on this a little bit, and he doesn't ever give an answer. He opens the door, this fucking prison cell door to Cole's cell, essentially. Uh-oh. He's not there.
He's not there.
Not good.
Now, that doctor who shows us that Augustus Cole isn't there, we've seen him before.
We have. That is Michael Puttonen. We saw him as the motel manager in Deep Throat, and we will see him again a couple other times, including in 731, my favorite role for him, as the train conductor.
Yeah. Yeah, locks in the door. It's like, nope, not being involved. You guys deal with this.
You guys deal with this. He's just so innocent in that episode. What do I do? I've never shot a gun before.
Yeah, it's really good.
But yes.
Yeah, so I like that. And I do believe that if they had given him another minute to talk about how, he was affecting the other patient's dreams, it would have been a bit more interesting. But nice touch to kill the plot and just show that Augustus is gone.
Yeah. This is a shocking moment for not only Mulder and Krychek, but the doctor as well. We go back to the nurse station, and she says, indeed, the doctor signed him out the other day. The doctor is taken aback. I most certainly did not. And then she shows him the form. Mulder gets a call. It's Mulder's new source. He's obtained info that will shed light on his current case. Exercise discretion when we meet. If anyone follows you, I won't be there. We see Krychek clock the phone call as Mulder has stepped away. And that leaves a little bit of tension as we go to our next scene.
Well, on a number of levels, obviously.
Absolutely.
In the moment, it's like, who's he talking to? But of course, after the episode's done, you can look back
Then
at
you
that
think
and go,
about it.
Who was he talking
Yeah.
to? Yeah.
So, can I just say I love this fucking set? It's such an awesome way to do this. Like, Mulder arrives on scene. There's this brilliant yellow, orange hall light. And he walks out, and we see that he's in this stadium that looks like it's under construction, essentially.
Yeah. Likely it was a stadium under construction in Vancouver. It's like, hey,
they got the okay to shoot here, and thank God, because it's one of the coolest ways for him to meet his new source. Absolutely. I think it's so ridiculous, and not ridiculous in a bad way, but like, this is the type of place you think when you think of stories like this, where it's heavy on the spycraft and let's meet at this random building that's being constructed as we speak. Let's just meet there. And, we can't trust each other. We don't know each other. So we get this awesome shot from the upper bleachers, and we see this one light cascading down onto the main floor of the arena. And we see Mulder as almost a little speck just walking around. Beautiful shot.
Yeah.
This is where he will meet Mr. X for the first time. And I do want to say, fun fact, Mr. X was originally cast as a woman.
I was going to mention that.
Character actress from shows like Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. She actually shot one scene as Mulder's new contact, and then she was eventually recast by the inimitable Stephen Williams.
And I think there's some reverse shots in this where if you look real close, you can see the hairline is definitely not Stephen Williams. So
yeah, got to look for it, but it's there.
Yeah. And I mean, you could go deep into whether or not she would have been better or whether we like Stephen Williams as X better. But listen, I think he's pretty awesome. And certainly his performance is amazing.
No shade to her at all. I know her only from those two shows I mentioned, but I can't imagine anyone outside of Stephen Williams for this part. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Who are you?
Who I am is irrelevant.
Why are you trying to help me?
You think I want to be here, Agent Mulder? I don't want to be here.
What is this?
Data from a top-secret military project, born of the idea that sleep is the soldier's greatest enemy.
Grissom was conducting sleep deprivation experiments on Paris Island.
Not deprivation, eradication.
Why?
Why else? To build a better soldier. Sustained wakefulness dulls fear, heightens aggression. Science had just put a man on the moon, so they looked to science to win a losing war.
And Willig and Cole were the lab rats.
Lab rats with the highest kill ratio in the Marine Corps. 4,000 plus confirmed kills for a 13-man squad.
You think Cole's behind what's happening now?
I'm not here to do your thinking, Agent Mulder. All I know is Augustus Cole hasn't slept in 24 years. There's someone else you should see. Another member of the squad who was reportedly killed in action.
I thought Cole was the last.
His name is on the envelope.
Well, how do I contact you?
You can't.
I may need more.
You still don't get it, do you? Closing the X-Files, separating you and Scully was only the beginning. The truth is still out there, but it's never been more dangerous. The man we both knew paid for that information with his life, a sacrifice I'm not willing to make.
he almost gives Deep Throat a run for his money, and I can't choose right now because I love Stephen Williams so much. Okay, so it's here where Mr. X lays out some stats that for a man, myself, I'm 38, I've never been in the service. I find them a little ridiculous.
Okay.
So he mentions that Augustus Cole's squad is a 13-man squad with over 4,000 confirmed kills. I did the math, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I got to throw the flag on this one.
All right.
4,000 for a 13-man squad is about 307 people per person, which, okay, has been done. I've looked up stats, and I think there are people definitely with around that or more at times.
But let's just how long they were in the field for? How long they were doing their killing?
That's a good question, but I would imagine it was only like a couple of years because they mentioned from 68 to 71 or 2. So
okay, well, if you're out there for 3 years,
I'm not saying it's impossible, but just to keep, I want to keep this in perspective with another plot point on this show or this episode. The other aspect of this episode parallels the My Lai massacre, and that would be estimated about 340 odd to somewhere around 500 that were killed. Innocent civilians were murdered. So if you just take that, that's almost one complete My Lai massacre per person, which I find a little terrible. It just seems like such a high number. I don't know.
Well, okay, first of all, they're implying that when they say confirmed kills, they're implying enemy combatants. So
true. I'm not saying they yeah.
But later on, Salvatore Matola will say, they stopped caring about who they were killing. They just went out and killed whoever they saw. So the number, in fact, could be much higher.
It likely is.
It was less about confirmed kills. The other thing that could be at play here is I'm thinking about, was it Catch-22, where they started just fabricating numbers? Like they could say 4,000 confirmed kills, but a confirmed kill could be, it could be anything. It's like, well, we confirmed we killed 400 people, but in fact, they have one
very
body
much
there. So there are a number of factors there, but really what it speaks to is, again, this is Howard Gordon, and he's turning it up to 11.
Turning it up, yep.
So they got 4,000 confirmed kills.
It just struck me. I was like,
I know.
Such a number, man.
Anyway. Dial so much of this episode back, and it's like, yeah, okay, I believe it. But
yeah. So back to the scene.
Yeah.
Mulder asks if Cole's behind what's happening. And Mr. X says all he knows is that Cole has not slept in 24 years. There is another
I'm not here to do your thinking for you.
That too. There is another man Mulder should see. One who was reportedly killed in action. And his name is on the envelope, Salvatore Matola. Mulder asks how he can get in touch with him as he walks away. The man pushes back. Closing the X-Files and separating you and Scully was just the beginning. The truth is still out there, but it's never been more dangerous. The man we both knew paid for that information with his life, a sacrifice I am not willing to make. He leaves that with Mulder to give him something to think about. This man wants to help Mulder out of dedication to his old comrade and not necessarily to Mulder's cause. So it is a different type. Type.
He's a different kind of informant, but I think it begs the question why he does want to help and how. Like, I think we figured out that his motivation is to reinstate the X-Files and get Mulder and Scully back on it because he sees that as one of the better ways to get to the heart of this conspiracy. Like it's the best vehicle to do that. You could make an argument that if he just told them what the conspiracy was right now, then it might be more effective. He might have a better ally as opposed to this convoluted, I'll sprinkle these little plot nuggets so that Mulder can get back on the X-Files and develop this knowledge and do it. I know it's all to serve this story, and you can't just have him wave his wand and tell
Yeah.
what the plot is. But if you start what ifing it and thinking it, then you're like, well, why does he do it this way? Why doesn't he just tell them the whole conspiracy?
I will say Mr. X is a little bit more difficult to read for me personally than Deep Throat was.
Yep.
But
Certainly
I
not
do.
as likable.
What'd you say?
Certainly not as likable.
He's definitely more abrasive, and he's a no nonsense guy.
Well, and I like that. I like that it's a new character that's like, I'm not going to die for your cause.
Exactly. It's not the same informant. So it's not like he's just filling the shoes. He is in some sense, but at the same time, he's a completely new character and new in every respect. So that's cool.
I like it.
Mulder gets back to his car. He drives up to pick Krychek up. And as Krychek gets in, he asks where Mulder was. Continuing, he updates Mulder on the current situation. Someone matching Cole's description robbed a drugstore. They're off, but tension grows again as Mulder ignores Krychek's once again asking where he was.
He also hides that envelope under his
he does hide that
his car seat.
So he's definitely keeping secrets from Krychek because he still cannot trust him.
Because he's not friggin' stupid.
He's not stupid.
Yeah.
They arrive at an apartment building flooded with officers, and they soon meet Horton. Cole didn't steal dime one from the drugstore, just a bunch of pills. Then they hear 2 gunshots. They rush up the stairs. There are officers down inside an apartment. Mulder rushes in and peers out the windows in pursuit of Cole. The camera pans over to show Cole tight against a wall below. Krychek asks Mulder what's going on. The 2 officers actually shot each other.
So this is a prototype for Pusher.
A little bit,
I think. Although that was written by Vince Gilligan, so different take on it.
Slightly the same, yeah.
But very much the same, like, I'm going to insert a hallucination into you, and you're gonna react this way.
Act on it.
I wonder why the FBI was leading the charge on running upstairs, especially when we actually hear Horton saying, I got SWAT chomping at the bit here, and I'm holding them off till you got here. It's like, we know there are SWAT officers here. Why are these cops taking bullets?
I don't know. Could just be an oversight.
Mm-hmm. Well,
or they're just exceedingly polite in letting the FBI conduct their investigation before they go in to get this guy.
Hey, they want to go in and get the super soldier.
They are Canadian. By default.
Oh, the actors are. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
They're New York cops. They are not nice people.
No.
I say that. That's not fair. They could have been perfectly nice people.
How dare you?
My apologies to the New York police.
We get some Scully narration here. She's dictating her notes. It speaks of a highly experimental neurosurgical procedure designed to create a permanent waking state. The surgery involves cutting a part of the brainstem in the mid-pontile region, explaining that scar on Willig. She states that Cole should have the same thing, and we know that as viewers from the pre-credit scene.
Yes.
They took supplements to replenish organic deficits created by lack of sleep, consistent with the antidepressants Cole just stole.
Now, I just want to point out these cool blue glasses that Scully seems to be wearing.
The reflection.
The reflection of the computer monitor. Like, this is Rob Bowman at his absolute coolest. Like, that's such a great shot. That's an album cover right there.
Now, I did want to give just a touch of background of what she's talking about.
Okay.
The pons is a part of your brainstem, a structure that links your brain to your spinal cord, and it handles, I guess, the unconscious processes and jobs, such as your sleep-wake cycle and breathing.
Okay.
It also contains several junction points for nerves that control muscles and carry information from senses in your head and face.
I believe you.
Apparently, the function is basically that vital part of your nervous system, providing a route for signals to travel to and from your brain. So it regulates those sensations with sleep and pain and things like that. So it influences your sleep cycle, and it manages pain signals. So I think that's Important for people to know if they don't know it.
You heard it here first.
I'm reading this off of medical journals.
This is why you're listening to a podcast where we get to tease out the details in a way that a 42-minute TV show could not possibly do.
Yes. Scully gets a call from Mulder. The second officer is still in a coma. She says sleep eradication doesn't explain what happened to all the victims so far. Mulder posits the theory that stimulations to the brain cortex, as done in Grissom's clinic, cause auditory and visual hallucinations. What if they came from a remote source, i.e., Cole developed the ability to project things into the minds of his victims to make them see and believe what he wanted? Scully's shocked by the idea, and she does the typical Scully thing. Even if you're right, you'll have a better chance at finding Cole if you work up a profile.
Mm-hmm.
Mulder, do your job and calm down.
I love this banter.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about her poking holes in his theories. It's a really nice moment, and it does bring us back to their relationship, even though they're separated. It's a nice feeling. You know they should be together, they should be working together, but yet they're separated by this bureaucratic decision.
It's really nice because they're not just coming out and saying, "I miss you."
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like taking jabs at each other. He's like, I can't believe I put up with you for so long. And she's, oh, they share a chuckle. Oh, I wish I could be there, Mulder.
Yeah. And it's nice that they bring in Krychek too. It's like, well, he's not you, but he's all right.
Yeah. So from this phone call, we go to 2J's Cafe. It's a small diner.
I must tell you, alas, the 2J's Cafe on West Penmore Street no longer exists. It's now a print shop. But the building was designated, the entire building was designated as a historic site in 1994. Coincidence?
Cool. Some light rock plays on the radio. The busboy clears the counter as three gentlemen leave. He's a lanky man. Mulder and Krychek arrive. The camera cuts to show him from the front, and we see the same physical characteristics of his squad mates. Red eyes, bags, a very disheveled look. He notices them and looks nervous. Mulder asks him his name, and the first thing he does is put his hands up and ask if they're going to shoot him. A little paranoid this man is.
A little bit, yeah.
Mulder shows him some ID. He knew about Willig and Grissom. He figured they were finally there to kill them all. Mulder asks him if he can spare some time, and we get this really cool scene. We sit down with this Salvatore, and he lays on this really detailed story about his time in the war. It's disturbing. He says it's like living two lifetimes. They didn't have to sleep, and it felt like nothing could touch them. They did 24-hour patrols, night ambushes. We never got tired, and the serotonin pills could fix anything. Eventually, they stopped taking orders from the company's commander in Saigon. They all went AWOL. We made up missions as we went along. Then, it didn't matter who we were killing. Mulder gets visibly disgusted by this. They killed farmers, women, and then he goes on to speak of a school full of children outside of Fubai. It's a moving scene. We can hear that he feels remorse for what he did, but it doesn't change the fact that the squad did terrible things. This is, again, obviously paralleling the My Lai massacre, for which American soldiers were actually put on trial.
Don't really focus on any of the positive things that Recon Squad J7 may have accomplished. The countless American soldiers that were prevented from dying from enemy ambushes, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it started off okay, but then you get to the women and children and farmers and
do a lot of shit when you haven't got a lot of sleep.
So Mulder, he composes himself a moment and tells him they suspect Cole is behind the murders. He called him preacher. He was always reading from his Bible, and he was always saying that one day they would have to pay. Mulder asks why Grissom. Salvatore says he made us what we are, along with Dr. Girardi.
This catches a new character out of this.
Yeah, this catches Mulder off guard. Who's that? He's the guy who did the surgeries. It's because of him I haven't slept in 24 years. Boom. From here, we go to the expressway. Mulder and Krychek are stuck in a traffic jam discussing the case. Mulder explains that Cole believes anyone responsible for the atrocities of that squad, directly or indirectly, needs to be held accountable. Krychek asks what I'm asking, why now?
Mm-hmm.
Mulder then says the anniversary of the massacre was 2 days ago. So that would mark 24 years. And I have to ask, why not 25?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Why not 20 years?
I mean,
Yeah,
just
24.
pick a number that everyone can get on board with here.
You
It's
could have made it 25. I think you needed a little something extra that allows Cole to suddenly have the ability to do the escape. Like it was, we found some interesting results in his charts, and he's now developed this ability, and that's why he could get out. You don't need to have the anniversary. I think you do it that way.
That's the thing, is like it means something because it's the anniversary, but then you're like 24.
Yeah,
it's just weird. It derails the whole thing for some reason. But
yeah, could have just said 25, but I don't know. Even then, it's like, well, why wait 25 years? Why not wait for 1 year?
I want to say there is this entire scene is Mulder and Krychek filmed from about 2 cars above or in front, maybe something like that. And you can see an elderly gentleman in the top right-hand corner through the whole scene. He looks like Frank Briggs from season 1. Fucking Squeeze.
He's not cast though, so it's.
I don't think it's him, but it just looks like him. So I just thought I'd give him a nod. Mulder gets a call. It's Scully. She's found Girardi. He's a professor of neurosurgery at Harvard, and he's coming to New York by chance for Grissom's funeral. Mulder asks her to drop him a photo by the Bronx station so they know who to look for. They head there.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing about time. Are they going to make it through this traffic jam to get there on time? It's a nice little deadline cutaway. It's good.
Yeah. At the station, they stop at the security station for the photo and immediately rush in. They head through the gates and onto the platform. They scan the crowd for Girardi, knowing he's a target. The camera abandons them on the platform and scans some nearby payphones. As a man checks each change slot one by one, the camera moves forward to the last stall. Cole turns around. He has eyes on the agents. Back on the platform, Mulder is having zero luck. A crowd presses into the station. Suddenly, Mulder spots him and walks towards him. He sees Girardi. As he gets closer, we see the silhouette of Cole behind him. Mulder draws his gun and yells, "Federal agent." He yells for Cole to drop his weapon. 2 shots rip through Girardi, and he trains his gun on Mulder and fires again. Mulder is hit and knocked to the ground.
I have a bit of a problem with this fake out. I mean,
I think I know where you're going with this. No, keep going. I think I'm with you.
Why does Cole decide to do this way? Like, there are some other subtle ways. Like, I think of his method for getting out from his prison cell. Like, that was a bit more subtle. And he has clocked the agents, so he knows how he can do this. Like, it makes for a good, tense scene.
Yeah.
And we maybe worry about Mulder having been shot. We wonder where the episode's going to go from here. But I just look at it like, I don't think so. Like, this is weird that he decided to do it this way.
Yeah, it's a little over the top, but I'm wondering if he needed a distraction a little bigger
over there.
To get, well, not only that, but to get eyes off of him. He has to take Girardi, who I believe is actually there. And
yeah, I do too.
He needs to get him from here to the next scene. So if you make a big scuffle, maybe he gets lost in it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's always the stick of the agents shoot each other. It makes Krychek look like Cole, and it makes Mulder look like Cole, and they see each other and they shoot. He's clearly able to do that, but he decides not to do that in this case. He decides to make Mulder see him and shoot, or look like he's going to shoot that way and then get shot. And then the question is, why doesn't Mulder believe he's been shot? Because that's been the conceit up till now, is if Cole makes you think that something bad has happened to you, then your body believes it and makes it happen. So somewhere in Mulder, there should be what looks to be something like a gunshot wound.
Maybe he didn't believe hard enough.
He didn't believe hard enough. He's a skeptic. No, he's not a skeptic. He's a believer.
It is convenient. You know, Mulder's the one guy who doesn't get obliterated by this thing. But
it's
at the same time, it was a quick scene. He has another agenda. He's not focusing on Mulder. So maybe it's just he didn't put his mental fortitude into casting the image. I don't know.
Willig needed to die. Grissom needed to die. That handsome FBI agent, he didn't need to die. So I'm not going to.
He's just doing his job. God damn it.
He's just doing his job. He's not as guilty as we are.
No.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Krychek rushes over to find Mulder unconscious. Mulder revives of his own accord, yelling for Girardi, but no one is there. Krychek is a little dumbfounded. To him, Mulder was going nuts, waving his gun around. Mulder insists that he saw him. Girardi never showed, Krychek says. We cut to the security room where they review some footage. Mulder is instructing the guards to open the time code up little by little and go over it to find the incident. Krychek summons him out of the room. He says, "You know I'm covering for you. You just about killed someone back there. Tell me what's going on." And then Mulder tells him his crazy theory that Cole has the psychic ability to manipulate sounds and images to generate illusions so convincing they can kill.
All right. Sorry, you're going to have to go on because I'm about to take an exception to something that's going to happen and you haven't hit it yet. So please continue. I have no problem with this interaction between Mulder and Krychek. I actually quite like it. It makes us like Krychek a bit more.
Mm-hmm. It's a new spin on virtual reality.
Oh, yes. Ooh, VR, topical in 94.
One officer calls Mulder in. They spotted a car in the lot that wasn't there 5 minutes ago. It's a restricted part of the yard. We cut to an old Bible on the ground, opened. Cole is laying out several knives.
Sorry, I just wanted to interject on that note where they found the car.
Okay.
So my issue is here, where the cops have found a car that wasn't there 5 minutes ago. First of all, didn't they have a job which was to look at the footage
minute by
before?
Minute.
Like, what's this guy doing exercising his own initiative and looking at other cameras now?
I don't know, man. He's aiming for a raise, this guy.
Yeah, shows independent thinking, my ass.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, why did they let this plot thread just hang and fade away? Like, just rewind in time and you'll see Girardi actually getting off the train and being spirited away by Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that happened, and we know it happened because Cole is going to torture and almost kill Girardi in the next scene. So you can show us how it actually went down and explain everything simply by watching this footage, but they don't actually do that for some reason.
Yeah. Well, that would be the easy way to do it.
Right. Nothing but this episode has been easy. Yeah.
It is Howard Gordon.
Yeah.
Go big or go home.
I remind myself I actually do like this episode, but there's just some things here that are done way out of proportion that are like, you could have just dialed this back a bit and it would have been almost perfect.
Okay, so we cut to an old Bible on the ground, opened. Cole is laying out knives on its pages. Girardi is trying to talk his way out of his current situation as the camera reveals he is indeed tied up.
You can't do this to me. You can't hold me responsible. I was following orders, just like you.
The Lord hates the lying tongue.
It's the truth.
The truth is what you did to us, what you made us do.
No one made you do anything. You volunteered.
The righteous shall rejoice when he sees the vengeance.
Who is it? Who's there?
He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked.
Who is it? I can't see without my glasses.
You don't need to see to know who it is. You know who it is! He shall pay as the judges determine. He shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. As he has disfigured a man, so shall he be disfigured. And he who kills a man shall be put to death.
People walk in as Cole recites more scripture. One by one, soldiers from the squad come into frame in full gear. They push past Girardi, each taking a knife from the Bible. The camera closes in on him as he braces. Mulder and Krychek speed in their car. They hear a scream and enter the area with flashlights. It's quiet. Mulder finds glasses on the ground with his beam. They're broken. They hear something in the distance, and they see blood on the ground. They find Girardi's body slumped but still alive. Krychek runs off, calling for help to track 17 in the freight warehouse. Mulder moves on. Cole looks over-encumbered mentally as he stumbles to an edge and looks down to see a thin metal support beam facing upwards, possibly considering suicide. Mulder closes in behind him. He orders him away from the ledge and he identifies himself. Cole's holding his neck with one hand, Bible in the other. He wants him to shoot. I'm not here for that. I just want to talk. And Cole lets out this very, very heartfelt, I'm tired, which I love every time I hear it because he's so broken.
Yeah.
And Tony Todd delivers that line so well.
Yeah. Oh, he's living it.
Yeah. He tells him, my blood is boiling in my veins. The air is stinging on my skin. Mulder tries to get testimony out of him to convince him to strike back at the military for what they did to him and his squad mates. I can never get back what they took, but I can stop them from taking any more. Cole then notices Krychek behind Mulder, who has his gun drawn. Mulder commands Krychek to put it down. We see Cole lift a gun and point it at Mulder, and in the next frame, reality, we see it's actually him offering the Bible to Mulder. But Krychek doesn't see this. He sees the gun. He strikes Cole and falls to the ground with one shot. Mulder rushes to him and cradles him in his arms. We see Cole say, good night. Krychek insists he had a gun, and Mulder assures him he did the right thing. What do you think of that scene?
What are some better one-liners for Cole to go out on?
You didn't like it? I thought he delivered it pretty well.
Yeah, he did fine. I
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Time to sleep. I don't know. It's just
I got you.
So okay. I really want to like this conclusion. There's just something a little unsatisfying about it. And I guess it starts with Girardi's being targeted for vengeance. So I can get Cole killing Willig. I can get him killing Grissom. Well, even Grissom, I wonder. Like, he is targeting people that he believes are responsible for what he did and what was made to do, what he and his squad were made to do. But I think it's a little bit of a stretch. Like, maybe Preacher with this 24-year sleep deprivation is just completely psychotic and making assumptions. But I feel like he would also make a lot more mistakes, if he's not completely in charge of his own faculties. Like, I don't know. It doesn't hang together well for me. And the attack on Girardi doesn't also feel earned somehow.
Yeah. I gotcha. I mean, it's hard to go over it without going directly into final thoughts, but...
Well, the other thing about Girardi is that with Willig, it makes sense. You can see Willig's demons are presented to him. The Vietnamese peasants are brought back to life that Willig participated in killing him, and they are the instruments of his death. But for Girardi, it's the soldiers that are trotted out. These are the ones that Girardi operated on, one is led to assume. But Girardi is clearly not believing he is complicit. He is on the other side of that, saying, you're responsible. I didn't do anything wrong. So I guess if I wanted anything, it would have been a moment where Girardi breaks and admits he was wrong.
I think I know what you're saying, and I agree that he's saying all the things that make him sound completely innocent. But I wonder if that's more of him just refusing to accept responsibility for what the squad ultimately did. Was he following orders? Yeah, probably. But he knew what he was doing. Essentially, he was altering these soldiers in ways that they did not intend to be altered. And
you could go way down the rabbit hole in like whether you were like, think of the Nazis involved in the concentration camps and gas chambers. I was only following orders, you know.
Yeah, that only goes so far. It's like there's a certain point where you have to just, as a human, step in regardless of what's going to happen to you. Like, I mean, just for your own peace of mind. So I think while it may not be quite as black and white with Girardi, I think there is an element of that for me. That's how I view it. Like, he just is not willing to accept that he did wrong.
Well, you have to intuit, you have to sort of bring it in, the idea that Girardi at some level feels guilty for what he's done and thus is susceptible to Cole's power. Although it seems pretty clear Cole has this power whether you believe in it or not, right? Because he can make cops think that he's there, and he can make Mulder think these things. So in a way, it doesn't matter whether this is earned justice or not. And I suppose that's what's missing in this moment is I kind of wish there was more to that scene that Girardi ultimately does come to the same point where Willie came from. But I guess Grissom never got there either, right? And we don't even know why the fire is significant to Grissom. So just a bit of loose business there that I kind of wish they'd tighten up on.
No, I'm with you. Mulder gets back into his car later to find the file is missing from under his seat. Back at the FBI, Scully is telling Mulder her report is gone as well. Without them, Skinner won't authorize an investigation. Mulder tells her the mysterious man said it's never been more dangerous. She asks if he trusts him, and he just kind of lets the question fade away. We cut to the office. A man is flipping through files. We only see their arms. What we do see is a cigarette. Someone picks it up from the ashtray and brings it up to his lips. It is indeed CSM sitting at a long table with two other officious pricks sitting behind him.
Hey, they could be really nice people.
Do you know where he got this? He asks. From behind the camera, we hear Krychek say, "Not yet." The camera reveals him as he puts a hand on his end of the table. If I can recommend something, you'll see I've outlined several countermeasures. CSM asks about Scully, but Krychek says it's only strengthened their determination by separating them. She's a much larger problem than you described. And CSM says every problem has a solution as he snuffs out his cigarette. Fade out.
Ooh, freaking ominous. It's almost like something bad is going to happen to Scully.
No.
All
right. Let's dive into final thoughts.
That's it there, eh?
I have a feeling you and I line up with some things, but go ahead.
I think so. I mean, I think it is an excellent episode. There is a lot to like in this one. Obviously, I have poked at a couple of areas that are
fair, though.
Exceptional in their. They didn't need to be there. You know, they decided to turn it up to 11, as I've said. It's questionable whether the agents actually do anything. That's something I take exception with. They're often just sort of observers to things that happen. They do find people, but they don't stop Grissom from dying. I don't think they save Girardi other than by happening to be there and calling an ambulance for him, but they certainly did prevent his assault. So from that point of view, I don't know whether they actually do anything. And this, I don't think actually gets them any closer to opening the X-Files. So it's just sort of passing some time in their plot arcs. It is reasonable to assume that X is passing information to Mulder to strengthen this campaign to get the X-Files reopened. And that's, as I said, that's the key to unraveling this overall plan to shed light on the Syndicate conspiracy. I like that we have great moments between Mulder and Scully, bringing back memories of when they used to work together, and introducing Krychek is a pretty great move. Yeah. The ending is particularly foreboding. That's the big threat to Scully, which we'll be seeing shortly. There is one other obvious, I might even call it a plot hole. At the end of this episode, Mulder is pleading with Preacher to basically tell his story, hold the army accountable. And I get it. I get why he wants to do that. The thing is, they've already got somebody who can tell exactly the same story as Preacher. They've already got Salvatore Matola. And he just falls off the earth after he tells them about Girardi, and it's the last we see of him. So in a sense, they don't need Preacher. You know, there is a case that they could prosecute, but the plot conveniently forgets about him.
I think Mulder just wants him for his special neato abilities.
That is quite possible. Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. They could just talk to Salvatore as long as he's not in fear for his life from dealing with government agents again.
I mean, there's an obvious death they could have had. Instead of having Salvatore bring up Girardi, we could have just had Salvatore be the next death. And in a sense, he is more deserving of it, having been part of the recon squad, which has done these 4,000 kills. I mean, he faked his death or whatever. You know, he's not officially alive anymore, so a little harder for a Preacher to find, but not impossible to script that.
Yeah, there could have been some sort of confrontation between the two, or Preacher gets wind that he's still alive, that kind of thing. That would have been kind of cool.
You could have had that gambit where Preacher follows the agents. You know, he uses them to find his quarry.
That's a good idea. We should call Howard Gordon 30 years ago.
Get him on the phone. You know what? We'll have him make a sequel.
Sleep Restful? No.
Sleepless. Sleeplesser?
Sleepless est.
See, I think what you do, the classic X-Files fashion, after we have the Krychek coda, we have another coda of Preacher in a coroner's office, you know, on the gurney with the shroud, and then he just reaches up and he pulls back the shroud and I'm awake again.
I'm awake. I'm all rested.
That was a nice nap I had. I haven't had a nap like that in 24 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you raised some good points, and I think we agree on several of the things in the episode that were negatives. But overall, I really like this episode. I think there's just, it's fun, and it's just ominous enough to keep me invested in not only Krychek and Mulder, but also Cole. Like, I'm just as curious about his character and what he's been going through and what his motives are. I think that's sometimes hard to pull off, so I will give Howard Gordon credit for that. I think he does come up with an engaging idea.
Yep.
I think sleep is a pretty obscure topic. There's a lot that we can learn about it that we don't know about it still.
Oh, absolutely.
Just in science. So that's always interesting to me. I think that's cool. And then they use the backdrop of Vietnam, which as a social topic, it offers a lot of opportunities for storytelling, just given the mess that the war was. So it's not surprising that they would come to this to kind of tell this kind of story. And I think it was successful in that regard. My biggest complaint, or one of them, with this episode is actually the coda. I would give everything if I could go back to this time and tell them to keep Krychek in their pocket until he knocks out the tram operator in Ascension. That would be the moment. Like, because everyone would be on the edge of their seats. They're like, I think we can really trust this guy by episode 2. Oh man, you know, maybe Scully's not coming back. I don't think she's coming back. And then when he betrays Mulder in that moment, that would just been so powerful. Even if you could see it coming a mile away, there would always be that question. You'd have 3 episodes of doubt, you know, doubting yourself. And that would have just been so cool for the show. So
yeah, I totally agree with you. Is that I really think it was a missed opportunity that they decided to play their hand so soon to reveal Krychek as a baddie. Yeah. I think, though, that this is par for the course with them in other episodes. creating a scenario where you very early on see the villain and you're there with the villain.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking Die Hand die Verlitz, where, you know, the demon is there with you the entire time. You know who the bad guys are, and the tension is, you know, the trap that the heroes are walking into because you've been there the whole time. So I think that's what they were going for, is you know who the player is. You know who Krychek really is. And now you know, it's like, Mulder, don't let him behind you. You know he's a bad guy, but you're going to live with that information.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It would have been a better reveal. I think it's an interesting idea. So
yeah. All that being said, it's still a very fun episode for me. I like it. And yeah. I don't think we have any listener comments for this one, but that's okay.
No, I think so.
Well, I'm spent, Andrew.
I think we need a nap.
We should wrap this one up, and I'll go to bed. I couldn't get any sleep last night.
I think that's a good play.
I feel like I haven't slept in 24 years.
Yeah, me too. Or 25, making an anniversary.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Mike, I'll end with this. Did you know why the insomniac got arrested?
Why?
He resisted arrest.
Where are you finding this shit? Oh, man. That's terrible.
That's terrible, isn't it? Yeah.
God, I gotta look up some shit jokes for Dwayne Barry.
Dwayne Barry.
Well, that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next time with Dwayne Barry. If you would like to say goodbye, Andrew.
Sleep tight, everybody, and don't let the bed bugs bite.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.